Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to Sales Chatter, the logistics podcast where we aim to help 10,000 reps hit a million GP. I'm your co-host, Ryan Mohamed. With me is my good friend, President and CEO of RGTX Logistics Solutions, Audacious Cowboy, Jeff Dickinson. How you doing this morning, brother?
Good, my man. Did you have a good weekend?
Man, my weekend was great. I got to see Creed 3, so I'll keep it short with there. But Creed 3 is a great movie. Everybody, Michael B. Jordan killed it. How about you, brother?
Hey, you know what? It was one of those relaxing weekends. I like to relax on the weekends, to pump myself up for Mondays because I love Mondays. And man, we got a great week kicking off. More about empowering women into logistics. We've got a great guest today. She's a good friend. Let's get into this.
Boom.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We have a great week in store for everybody out there as we continue, Ryan and I, on empowering women into logistics. It's such an important subject. We've been going over this for the last 2 weeks. We have 2 more intense weeks of awesome guests. And with that said, I'm bringing in one of my good friends, Ann Wilkinson. Ann, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you, Jeff. And thanks, Ryan, for having me on. It's a topic that's close to my heart for obvious reasons.
Yes, absolutely. And tell everybody who you are and a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, my name's Ann. I've been in the international side of the logistics industry for my whole career. I really started out kind of in customer service, walking into an office with ringing phones and customers basically shouting, "Where's my container?" And I had to find it. So I learned this industry by the seat of my pants, and I've done like everything from make bookings, bills of lading, chase customers, chase carriers, chase terminals, chase truckers, to selling cargo to customers and finding solutions. I've evolved into kind of a solutions-based person. And what I think is so interesting and fun about this industry is no 2 days are the same. There's always something going on that you can learn from every single day. And the devil is in the details in a lot of cases. There's a lot of detail to know and remember. There's a lot of compliance that you have to manage on a daily basis. And I think that's one reason that women really can excel in this industry, because we are kind of hardwired to juggle a lot of different things and deal with people of all different types and understand personalities. And so we can, talk about a problem and then talk about something happy, and we can manage it all sort of from where we sit.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And, we've been talking about this topic for some time, even with our association as well, about the empowerment of women into logistics. It used to be, from the 60s to now, it was pretty dynamic. It's somewhat static now. I mean, I don't see the amount of movement in the industry that we should be seeing. Granted, we are moving in the right direction. I know you'll agree with me on that, but there's so much more to be done within the industry. And then we look at C-level women across all industries, and we see that 1 in 4 women in a C-suite is is a woman, only 25%, and then 1 in 20 women of color or in a C-suite, or 5%. It's so low. I know this is an important subject, and you talk to me about it. What are your thoughts about it, and what's going on?
Oh, that's such a big topic, and it's so important. I think part of the reason is I attribute a lot of it to how women enter this industry. A lot of the C-level people, men in the logistics industry, may have started out in like a different sort of a role. I know guys who are directors of global logistics, who are the CEO of the USA, who really got their start like driving a truck or working in a warehouse. And that has been and continues to be a very frowned upon path for women. I looked up some stats over the last week, and only like the number varies, but it's less than 12% of forklift operators are women. The vast majority are men. And that's a good way to get into the industry if that's what you're interested in. There's a lot of on the job training that you can get. So that's a good way to see an operation, be detailed about it, do your job, and then sort of get a glimpse of the whole picture of how things go.
Yeah, and how do these women, from your point of view, get that knowledge base? What do you recommend women doing to get into these type of roles, whether it's in a warehouse atmosphere or in the operations, in maritime, or even in logistics?
Really good question. I think for so many women, the entry point is through the office door, and so many women go straight into customer service or operations roles. And those roles, if you're not careful, can be very siloed. You'll just be doing one portion of what you do all day long. I think the important thing to do is look around you and reach out. And if you see a woman in a high level position, like try to get to know her and find out what was her path. What did she do? I'm a big believer in informational interviews. It's something that I've done throughout my career. And when I've even dabbled in other things that haven't been involved in logistics. As an aside, I've also been a professional photographer. And one of the ways I got into the business was basically finding people in the industry and scheduling 20-minute informational interviews with them and just picking their brain. And I learned so much, and it really got me started and gave me a leg up. So I think that's a really, really solid thing to do. That's that's tangible, a tangible thing that you can do besides hoping that you can get a promotion for your hard work. I think that in an operational standpoint, kind of circling back to what I mentioned about the details of the business, is women are really good at handling a lot of detail. Again, we're hardwired for that. And so it can be very easy for a woman to be sort of locked into a job because you do it so well. And I kind of would hope that not to become bad at your job, but to be able to spend some time looking around and seeing what else is out there and really focusing on the big picture, learning what makes that company tick, learn the people that are involved in it from a high level and a mid-management level, as well as, the peers that you work with.
Yeah, all good stuff. I mean, that's very important, especially the informational interviews. I think that's key. That's something new that we've heard on this show since we've been doing it for the last 2 weeks. I think it's very, very important. How about management and human resource directors in corporations? What can they do to support women who are coming into that office, going through that front door, either on the interview side or actually taking that seat and doing their job? What can they do to support them?
There's actually a lot of things that can be done. And a company that I recently worked for had a really strong professional development program where they would bring in fresh graduates from a good school, but a local school, and they would hire people to work for a finite year. And through that, over that year, the people in that PDP program would basically sit for a pretty long, good period of time with each department and get a feel for what they did, how they do it, and get your hands a little bit dirty and do some things, attend all the meetings, do some projects, do some day-to-day work. And at the end of that year, that professional, that person that went through the program then gets to kind of declare where they want to end up. And it's ended up in some really great, the company I just left, they basically had some kick-ass women. I don't know if I can say that, but they were awesome, smart, and hardworking and determined. And they're now an integral part of the company. And I really think that if companies focused on bringing in people, hiring them, don't do unpaid internships, but hire them at a good market rate and let them be exposed to all parts of the company, that is a really big help. Something that's a little less formal that you can do for existing people within the company would be to offer people a chance to step into another role and do it for a while. I think that's a great way to move ahead. And I don't think it matters what your gender is. I think that's a great way to learn what goes on.
I think that is spectacular. When I worked at outside of logistics, I worked for a telecom company. We used to do that. They had a program where it was called in charge assignments, and
Ooh.
basically somebody would take over for like 3 to 6 months. Either it's maternity or somebody's taking like a sabbatical or something like that, and they get to learn the intricacies about it. And you said a lot of great things. The one thing I kind of want to go back to is you mentioned that you're a photographer as well. What lessons have you learned, like being a photographer and working in the ocean side of logistics, that you find are transferable, that most of the eyes, like myself or Jeff, wouldn't see?
Oh, well, the whole thing about photography is managing yourself and managing people, managing the people that you're actually that are paying you to do the work. They've hired you because they they can't take a picture of themselves. Even the best selfies all look the same, right? You need somebody who can sort of see you and look through the viewfinder and find you. So for me, it was working with people. It was learning what to say to get them to come out of their shell. It was learning how to be approachable. It was learning how to build a trust, a very quick trust between a photographer and their subject is so important, so important. And I think one of the things that has helped me personally was just I like to talk to people. I like to get to know people, and so those two things really helped, and that sort of has fed that solutions-based approach that I've learned to take. Anybody can sell a rate, right? You have to be able to sell a solution behind it that really works for your client. So that was a great question. You caught me too. That was a good one.
And we were talking about cross training before when you mentioned that and having women go into different seats in those roles. What do you think women feel is the greatest barrier obstacle that they face going into a new environment?
Well, that's a really good question too. I think I'm going to throw out a statistic at you. When it's documented that when women look at a job description, when they're maybe looking to move up and take on a new role, if they don't feel like they can handle 100% of the job description, they're reluctant to apply for it. 60% is sort of where they feel but if a man looks at a job description, if they can maybe do 40 to 60% of it, they'll go ahead and apply. I also think that anybody who applies for a job, if you're qualified for 100% of it, you're overqualified and probably should not assume that role. But I think women have this intrinsic feeling that we have to know the whole job before we can take it on and be successful. We're afraid of a learning curve. And I see Lisa has a comment here, fear of change. I think fear of change is a really, really big factor that women have to work through. And Lisa also said, believe that they are not enough. You are enough. You are more than enough. You can do so many things. So thanks, Lisa, for those great comments.
Yeah. Fear. What do women fear? I mean, everybody has their fear. Guys have their fear, but women have their fear. Are they afraid to ask those pertinent questions that have a direct impact on what that job is all about because they don't want to feel singled out? Where you said like the male side would go ahead and just ask these pertinent questions. The way that I feel is that when you go in for an interview, there's the interviewer and the interviewee. I think and feel strongly that the interviewee should always interview the interviewer. It's a great opportunity for somebody to sit in that seat and rake them over the coals, so to speak, because that's what they're doing to you. So what are those pertinent questions that women can ask when that opportunity arises and they have the stage? What do you recommend?
Ooh, I wish I could go back and look at my notes. So whenever I've interviewed for a job, and if anybody's on here who I've ever talked to, I always come prepared with a list of questions about the company, a list of questions about the job, questions about what brought the person that I'm talking to the company. That's a really good question to ask. What brought you to this organization? I think one of the things that you kind of touched on it at the beginning, what holds women back a little bit is this belief. I feel like there's just so much more pressure when you are put into a new role, that you put a lot of pressure on yourself that you will instantly accomplish something, that you don't allow yourself enough time to really get into the role, sit back and watch and listen and learn a little bit from your peers, from the new team that you're with. That you need a grace period. You need to allow yourself that grace period. And I think that that's one thing that we feel pressure that we should just hit the ground running. And so learn to move forward to your questions about the interview, which I think is a great segue. If you can go in and really ask some good questions, I think you learn whether it's the right opportunity for you, but it also gives you a chance to show the company that you really care about this position, that you care about putting your best foot forward, and that you've thought it through and you're excited and ready to go. So I think that's a really helpful thing, just to have a list of good questions that show that you haven't just gone onto the website and looked around and see where their offices are and what products they offer, but that you've really taken a deeper dive and you really want to know.
That's spectacular, because that's one of the best things you can do. At least you can set yourself up, because even myself as a sales rep, and when I've gone to new places, I fell in that trap of like wanting to get get numbers on the board, go for that low hanging fruit, those customers that are not going to be long term. You get those customers and they're just there. Something you mentioned I want to go back to when you brought up your stat about descriptions of jobs, and we had 2 weeks ago, we had Brooke from Mac Recruiter said that you look at words like leaders, or you look at like self-starter, and those kind of have like a masculine term to them, I would say, right? And one of the big things that I've kind of always wanted to understand is that how can somebody, when let's say if they're going into a new place, like you said, you're possibly going somewhere else to work as well, what tips do you personally have? Do you set up things like 30-day, 60-day, 90-day plans, sit with like some of the top people there? What is your action plan? And then looking around at the culture and the environment as a whole.
That's great. When one of the things that I ask, and it really comes from a place of wanting to know, I'm going to go if you're offered a second or third interview, now you start to think that maybe they are serious about hiring you. I think one of the best things you can do is ask the hiring manager or the direct person that you'd report to, tell me who are the 3 or 5 people that I need to meet with first. Who do I need to get to know first? That's a really good question to ask. And I really like your idea of a 30, 60, 90-day approach for yourself. Some companies actually map that out for you, or they invite you to spend that time and put it together. But if you're not offered that, do it yourself. Really spend that time getting to know certain people. I've already got my map for where I'm going next week. I've got my map laid out of what I want to accomplish that first week, the first month, the first 90 days, the first half year. So I've kind of got it somewhat written down and somewhat still in my mind. But yeah, it's really important to do that. And just doing that sets you on a trajectory that's going to be extremely positive and productive for yourself. And what I think the word that I'm leaving out is, it's 2 words: self-confidence. You need to, and that is one thing where if you can fake it a little bit, if you're not really totally feeling it, it's okay to fake that till you make it, because you will. That'll just help you get in that channel and feel that sense of self-confidence. And, we need all the help we can get. So that's a great question. You guys ask good questions.
Thanks. You know what? I'm just thinking about, the sales approach. And when we went to lunch the other day, we started talking about that. And one thing that you said is about, because I firmly believe that you should find out the person you're talking about, the company that they work for, do your homework, find that out. How important is that to women to do that upfront homework, to get themselves in the position A, as I would say, to have a real good upper hand compared to their competition, whether it's other women or men that are applying for that same role?
You mean are you talking about basically a face-to-face customer
Yes.
meeting, or getting a job as a salesperson?
Yeah. Getting a job as a salesperson, talking to that interviewer, finding out about that. What else? What's the upper hand from them doing that?
I think it's really good to try to get to know who you're talking to. Again, you can sort of approach it from an informational interview aspect. Ask them some questions like, how long have you been with the company? And what was it that brought you here? How did you come to join this organization? And what is it that keeps you here? And what makes you excited about coming to work every day? And those answers can be very telling. And it shows that you want to engage with somebody. And then you can fast forward that to, a face-to-face customer interaction. And you can, I wouldn't say stalk them, but you can certainly find out information on LinkedIn. I think it's acceptable practice now to look somebody up on LinkedIn before you go and see them. And it's not frowned on anymore. It kind of used to feel stalkerish. But now you need to do that. You need to know a little bit about the company, and you kind of need to prepare yourself with some good data, and go in and really have a little bit of a basis of what you know about the company. It helps you get started. One thing that I may go out on a limb here, but I feel like in a solution/sales situation, a woman tends to want to get to the heart of the matter and talk about that solution, that challenge to the value that she and her company can bring to the customer. And we tend to bypass some of what we kind of think of as small talk, that guys are so good at engaging in. I think you need to be able to handle a little bit of that, and you'd be amazed sometimes at the things people tell you you sit in their office and then you go out to lunch, and it can be eye-opening, some of the stories that they'll tell you, how you can quickly get to know somebody. I also think that in a sales scenario, if you can take another woman from the same company with you, a subject matter expert, someone in operations, someone in the customs brokerage team, someone in the land transport or the contract logistics with you, knowing that they can bring some value, I'm telling you, two women in a sales situation can crush it. You can do so many great things. So lean on your subject matter experts, engage people. You're not in this alone. And I think that's something. I'm going to kind of go back to some other things that you said. I think that's a danger where women fall into, is they feel like they're on their own, and you're not. Watch your male counterparts. They're always talking and they're always interacting, and even some forms of socializing. Use that to your advantage too. Support each other, and you'd be amazed at the success that everybody can garner from that.
That's perfect. You are a rock star, and I want to get
Oh,
to some of the questions, and I want to learn a little bit about you, because this one question is about yourself. You're giving amazing advice, and I think anybody, I know myself, I'm going to have some takeaways, and everybody in the audience. But let's get over to David's question here. He wants to know, can you share your biggest win? And also, is there something you would like women to adopt to win more in their lives? So this could be professionally, this could be personally, with your experience that you've gathered over the years.
Um, I mean, I've really been lucky to have some good successes in my career, and there's one in particular that I like to talk about because I didn't do it myself. I did it with a lot of other people. We handled my team and I handled a very complex export shipment that involves standard containers, oversized flat racks, open tops, and I think there were 8 different door origins, and all of the cargo had to move out of one port on one vessel and on one bill of lading. And coordinating that, it took about 6 weeks to put the whole thing together. And we generated a huge amount of revenue, but we met as a team every single day, multiple times a day, and went over all the details. And we engaged the right partners to help us out, the right intermodal carrier. I won't say it was flawless. There were a lot of moments of like sheer terror, but we got it done. The customer was happy, and we made the branch a huge amount of money on one file, and so it was really good. Again, it was teamwork, and it was building that team and working together, rolling up your sleeves, getting a little bit dirty, and getting it done.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I got actually one more question for you, because you bring up teamwork, and I saw like a comment that sports cliches are they're so outdated, and I truly believe it, because even myself, right? I think it comes back to even kind of Jeff's post about March Madness, which is the NCAA basketball tournament every March. But what do you think, like in terms of that women balance? Because even my wife, if I was to go give her like a sports cliche, she'll be like, "Is that a wrestling term?" Because I watch wrestling all the time, and then she'll be like, "Okay, what does it mean?" But where do you see that shift changing? Where, hey, let's get some, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily gender, but getting having phrases that we all understand and we can all contribute to, rather than this kind of being the inside joke that we have in the clubhouse and so on.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think companies need to think about that. Some companies just overuse those sports cliches, and they even make it an integral part. They name programs after sports cliches. And it's I think it's I'm not going to use the word offensive, but I think I think it serves a very male dominated purpose. And it would be really nice to see some more balanced naming conventions and comments about how we get work done. There's other ways to describe a team other than through the NFL or the NHL or Major League Baseball.
That is amazing. So, Ann, want to thank you so much for coming out today. Can you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you? Because you're amazing. I'm definitely going to hit you up for some ocean stuff. What's here, but you are amazing.
Sure.
Let us know about yourself, even your photography as well, even if they're out in that area.
Sure. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Ann Wilkinson. You can find me easily there. Reach out, hit me up. Let's connect and let's talk. It's a good way to start. And then from there, we can share, email and phone information. I would love, one of the things that I would like to leave as a legacy of my career is being a mentor to women in this industry. It's something that's very close to my heart, and I feel like I've been able to do that. And I would love to talk somebody through it. Lisa brought up another topic about being a mom and working, and I've definitely done that. And I would love to support as many women as I can in this industry. So please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and mentioned earlier in this episode, like look at like informational interviews. So Ann is telling everybody in the audience her DMs are open. So hit her up and book those 20 minutes
Yeah.
and get them with her. So want to thank you so much again for coming out today. I want to thank our corporate sponsor, Daman at Centurion Trucking and American Logistics. They are looking for sales agents across North America, paying up to 60% GP. Hit up Daman. His team is amazing. He was definitely in our comments here. And if you found value in this, and I know you did, please like, comment, subscribe. We have our YouTube channel that we got going on. We've got posting this on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll hit the replays again at 2 and 6 p.m. Eastern time. Just make sure to let us know what you liked about this and how we can be better for tomorrow's episode. And with that being said, Cowboy, take us home.
Great. Thank you so much, Ann, for joining us today. I know you're so busy, and I appreciate your time. What we spoke about today, I thought was excellent. It gave a lot of golden nuggets, which everybody needs, especially the women out there. I appreciate the offer of letting our audience know to reach out to you and DM you. That is so kind of you, and I appreciate that, both Ryan and I. So with that said, thank you again. Bodacious out. Have a great day, folks. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ryan.